Sunday, and as part of our kickback and leisure section, we're joined by the associate editor of Stuff magazine, Nick Cowan, as usual. Nick, we're looking once again at Facebook. I got the email from you, and the plans for the Metaverse. What the hell are you talking about?
Okay, well, just to give you a bit of background, the metaverse is a phrase that was first coined by a science fiction novelist back in 1991 or 2 called Neil Stephenson. He wrote a very good book called Snow Crash. And, as technology advances, it seems that we're catching up with science fiction from the 90s. The metaverse, as described by him, and also what was put forward by Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg a couple of weeks ago, is the idea that the internet will always be a presence in your life. I mean, it already is right now, but it's like, imagine a situation where the gap between online and offline doesn't exist for some people. Rather than walking down the street and sort of seeing what you'd normally see, you'd see an overlay of augmented reality telling you, okay, well, this is a particular street here. You might see a ping over here about emails, that sort of thing. It's the idea of basically being able to access online content without using your traditional tools. Like, you won't need a desktop to do it. You won't need a smartphone to do it. It'll just actually be there. You will be part of content rather than just experience it.
Geez, it sounds a little bit dangerous to me. I mean, just the amount of information that we are receiving already. I was reading the other day that from an advertising point of view, the average person these days is receiving as much information as in one day that the normal person at the end of World War II was receiving in an entire year. So this is just making this whole thing even more in your face. And what do you reckon the chances of this actually happening are? I mean, do you reckon it's going to go ahead?
Well, I mean, it all depends. I mean, one of the things that Mark Zuckerberg said, and he's absolutely right about it, is that if this vision of his is to become a reality, it's going to have to be a collaborative effort on the part of a lot of the big tech companies. He didn't mention anyone specifically, but I would say that, in order for it to come to fruition, you have the likes of Google getting involved, Twitter getting involved, Microsoft getting involved. That having been said, just because Mark Zuckerberg raises a flag and runs off in one direction doesn't necessarily mean everybody's going to run in the same direction as him. We spoke about this, I think, earlier this year, where Facebook and Google found themselves at loggerheads with legislation in Australia about paying news outlets for the content that they're linking to. At the last minute, Google said, fine, we'll do it. Whereas Facebook went, no, we're shutting you down. So in other words, it's a grand idea. Will it come to fruition? I think it's one of those you're going to have to wait and see, and also see how many participants within the big tech sector share Mark's vision.
Okay, let's make a presumption, okay, that this does become a reality. If it does become a reality, what does it in effect mean to you and me?
Once again, a very, very good question. I mean, there are so many points around this that we have to consider. First of all, is it an opt-in, opt-out situation? I'm hoping it is. I'm sure it will be. Secondly, if you do opt in, what happens then to your privacy rights? What happens to your data rights? At this particular juncture, we know that for example, Facebook's had to move quite fast in the past to stop outside companies scraping its data and just handing it out willy-nilly. They say they've plugged those holes. How many holes will the metaverse open up for other people? What will happen to our surveillance rights? What will something like that horrific piece of spyware that I told you about a couple of weeks ago, called Pegasus. What happens if that gets into the system? I mean, it poses a lot of questions. What I would say, though, what I can say with all clarity is this. If the metaverse does become a reality, we're all going to have to ask ourselves some very serious questions about the relationship we have with the technology we use, and exactly how many platforms or how many apps we're prepared to use that may or may not compromise our privacy. At the end of the day, the responsibility does lie with us to a large degree. But like I said, the metaverse opens up so many questions. It's an awful lot to absorb all at once. And until it actually becomes a reality, we're kind of like, you know, we're kind of in the same position of people who used to dream of flying to the moon. And we're not really sure what we'd see when we get there. Now that we've done that, we've got a pretty decent idea. But yeah.
Yeah. The metaverse may be coming to get you. Maybe it's time to start reading the old science fiction books and see how your world's going to change in the future.
No Crash by Neil Stephenson. Very good book.
Nick, thank you very much for your insight, mate. Nice to talk to you again. Nick Cowan is the associate editor of Stuff magazine. So there you have it. As I said, the metaverse may be coming to get you. Be scared. Be very, very scared. Until next time, when we're met by the prophet of doom, Cowan, once again, it's goodbye.